Well, silver has done what markets once thought was unthinkable. For the first time ever, the white metal has broken above $90 an ounce. Prices briefly surged past $91, while gold climbed to just below record highs. Now, here's why this is big. This is not a routine commodity rally. It is being driven by a rare mix of monetary uncertainty, geopolitical risk, and real stress in physical supply of the metal. Let's break it down for you. First, the Federal Reserve. U.S. inflation data for December came in softer than expected, reviving market bets that interest rate cuts are still coming later this year. That has weakened the dollar and pushed investors back toward hard assets like gold and silver. But there's another factor unsettling the markets: the possible criminal indictment involving U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. It has raised serious concerns about the central bank's independence, and as a result, global policymakers have quickly closed ranks around Powell. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon has warned that any move undermining the Fed could damage financial stability. Markets are paying close attention as well. Secondly, geopolitics. Safe haven demand is rising sharply. It's because of tensions escalating across multiple fronts, from the unrest in Iran to renewed American threats involving Greenland to the turmoil in Latin America. The message from investors is simple: when uncertainty rises, money moves into hard assets. But what truly sets this rally apart is what's happening behind the scenes in the physical silver market. Remember, silver is not just going up in price. In many ways, the market is starting to break down. So why does silver matter so much? Because silver is not just a precious metal, it is a critical industrial material. It is one of the best electrical conductors in the world. It is used in electronics, electric vehicle batteries, solar panels, medical devices, and advanced tech. As clean energy, AI infrastructure and defense systems expand silver demand, and that rises with them. At the same time, silver still plays its traditional role as money. It is used in jewelry and coins, especially in India and China, where it is viewed as long-term family wealth. So silver has a dual role: as key industrial metal and as a store of value, which makes this white metal absolutely unique. But unlike gold, the silver market is much smaller. Trading volumes are thinner, inventories are tighter, and liquidity can disappear very quickly. Now, to give you a better understanding of this, the total value of silver stored in London is around $65 billion, whereas gold stored there is worth nearly $1.3 trillion. And so, while the central banks hold massive gold reserves that can be lent out in a crisis, there is no lender of the last resort for silver. And that is why silver moves faster and more violently, which brings us to the next question. So why did prices explode in 2025? Well, silver usually follows gold, but with bigger swings. Earlier, remember, gold had surged so strongly that the gap between gold and silver became extreme at one point. 1 ounce of gold could buy more than 100 ounces of silver. Many investors saw silver as undervalued and rushed in. At the same time, high government debt in the US and Europe pushed investors toward real assets, away from paper money and bonds. And then came the supply problem. Global silver production has struggled for years. Ore quality is falling, new mining projects are limited, and environmental and regulatory hurdles have slowed output in key producers like Mexico, Peru, and China. Another issue is that most silver isn't mined directly. It is a byproduct of other metals. So supply cannot easily respond to higher prices. For the 5th year in a row, global demand has exceeded mine supply. Then the market seized up. Fears of possible American tariffs sent silver rushing into New York walls, draining supply from London. More than 100 million ounces flowed into silver-backed ETFs. By October, during India's festive buying season, borrowing costs spiked, prices jumped, and liquidity dried up. then concerns over Chinese export controls. And silver being labelled a US critical mineral only added fuel to the rally. Even Elon Musk weighed in, warning that silver is essential for many industrial processes. And now we're seeing visible signs of strain. US silver eagle coins are selling for over $100 per coin. Analysts say this is not a speculative bubble, but a structural shortage years in the making. Some estimates suggest that billions of ounces of paper silver claims are backed by only a fraction of physical metal. In fact, Citigroup now sees silver at $100 in the near term. Some industry voices are even calling for $150 by year end, which is why markets are asking the question, is this just another rally or a permanent repricing of silver itself? From America, let's shift our focus to Britain, where there's mounting political pressure on the government to block plans for a controversial Chinese mega embassy in central London. MPs are calling on the government to block the plan amid concerns over national security, espionage and foreign interference. Members of the parliament from across the political spectrum, including Labour, the Conservatives, the Liberal Democrats, the SNP and the DUP, have all reportedly stepped up calls for the project to be rejected, arguing it could pose serious risks to Britain's security and democratic institutions. But the government insists no final decision has been made yet. The proposed embassy site sits opposite the Tower of London, on land once occupied by the Royal Mint. Now, if approved, it would become the largest embassy in Europe, which is a development that China has pursued since purchasing the site for £255 million in 2018. But critics say this is no ordinary planning application. Conservative MPs have described the project as a potential launchpad for economic warfare. They have cited reports that the embassy design includes secret rooms and a concealed underground chamber positioned next to fiber optic cables, carrying sensitive financial and communications data into the City of London. Shadow Home Office Minister Alicia Kearns told the Parliament that access to those cables could expose millions of Britain's emails, financial records and commercial data, and give the Chinese Communist Party unprecedented intelligence reach inside the UK. She's also warned approving the embassy would send the wrong political signal, especially at a time when China continues to detain British nationals and Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai. Labour voices have joined this criticism as well. Sarah Champion, the chair of Parliament's International Development Select Committee, has said that multiple UK government agencies as well as Britain's international partners have raised alarms about this project. She told MPs that every security briefing that she has received identifies China as a hostile state, and she said that she has no doubt that the embassy should not go ahead. The issue was debated in the House of Commons as well during an urgent session, which exposed growing frustration with the government's handling of this matter. Planning Minister Matthew Pennycook told MPs that it would be inappropriate to comment on a live planning case, but said all national security concerns would be fully considered before a decision is made, and that is expected on or before the 20th of January. He in fact acknowledged that China poses serious threats to UK's national security, but also pointed out that Beijing remains the world's second largest economy and Britain's third largest trading partner. That response has done little to satisfy critics. Liberal Democrat MP Bobby Dean accused the government of treating the issue as a routine planning matter, warning that this decision carries huge diplomatic and strategic consequences. The controversy, remember, comes at a sensitive moment in the UK-China relationship. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is reportedly planning a visit to China later this year. It would be the first by a British leader since 2018. And approval of the embassy has long been a diplomatic priority for Beijing. On Monday, 9 Labour MPs reportedly wrote directly to the Housing Secretary, urging him to block the project. For now, the Starmer government insists that no decision has been taken, but with rare cross-party unity forming in the opposition, pressure clearly is intensifying over whether Britain is willing to trade security concerns for diplomatic engagement with China. The debate is expected to get louder as the decision's deadline approaches. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have openly defied congressional subpoena demanding their testimony in a House investigation into the Jeffrey Epstein case. It has set up a high-stakes confrontation with Republican lawmakers. In a letter released on social media, the Clintons called out the House oversight body's probe and accused its chair, Republican Congressman James Comer, of pursuing a process which they say is literally designed to result in their imprisonment. The Clintons said that they will forcefully defend themselves, arguing that Comer has allowed other former officials to provide written statements about Epstein while selectively enforcing subpoenas against them. There are 8 other people who were issued this subpoena. Naturally, Comer has said that he's prepared to move for contempt of Congress if the former president and the First Lady do not appear. The Republican-led Oversight Committee subpoenaed the Clintons, remember, back in August last year as part of a review of the government's handling of the Epstein case. The dispute comes as Republicans face growing pressure over the Justice Department's delayed release of the Epstein files, despite legislation requiring all documents to be made public by the 19th of December. Now remember, last week lawmakers asked a federal judge to appoint a special master to compel the full release of those files. In recent months, the Justice Department has released batches of documents, photographs included in the release, and they show Bill Clinton with Epstein in the late 1990s and early 2000s. This also includes images of Clinton swimming and sitting in a hot tub. Clinton has acknowledged a friendly relationship with Jeffrey Epstein during that period, but he has denied any knowledge of Epstein's crimes. In fact, survivors of Epstein's abuse have not accused Clinton of wrongdoing. This controversy over the Epstein case intensified last July, when the Justice Department released a memo declaring the matter closed. Now, this move that conflicted with conspiracy theories embraced by Donald Trump and some of his allies during the 2024 campaign. Historically, multiple former presidents have voluntarily testified before the Congress, but none has ever been compelled to do so. And that precedent was cited by Trump in 2022 when a House committee investigating the January 6th Capitol attack subpoenaed him. The committee eventually withdrew that subpoena. Comer has also said that the Oversight Committee will not attempt to compel testimony from Trump regarding Epstein. He's argued that a sitting president cannot be forced to testify. Donald Trump, who is also friendly with Epstein, has said that he cut off that relationship before Epstein was accused of sexual abuse.